So, welcome to the meeting of full council this evening. I'm the Mayor of Rugby, Councillor Barbara Brown, and I'll be chairing the meeting. This meeting is being web streamed to the public through the council's YouTube channel. During the meeting, if you wish to speak, please use the push to talk button on the microphone in front of you. Before we begin the formal agenda, I'll ask the Chief Executive to provide details of the evacuation procedure for those present. When he's ready. Oh, I forgot Barbara.
Good evening, Madam Mayor. Good evening, all. There is no fire drill scheduled in the building this evening. If the fire alarm does sound, then please make your way out of the building, down the main staircase, out of the main doors of the Town Hall, and congregate at the entrance to Caldecott Park. An officer of the council will give instructions on when it is safe to return to the building. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Executive. Are there any apologies this evening?
Madam Mayor, we have apologies from Councillors Barnett, Bennett, Dumbleton, Sam Edwards, Garcia, Gillias, Dale Keeling, John Keeling, Henderson, Carradine, Poole and Parker.
Thank you. Thank you. So the next item is to approve the minutes of the extraordinary meeting of Council held on the 27th of January 2026. I move that the minutes of the extraordinary meeting held on that date be approved and adopted. Who will second the motion?
I will second the motion.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Can we have a show of hands then? Please, those in favour, please show. Thank you. I'm sure that's unanimous, but just in case, those against? And any abstentions? Thank you. That motion's carried. So, on to declarations of interest. Can I remind members that when they declare interests, they must also declare the general nature of that interest. Are there any declarations tonight on non-pecuniary interests as defined by the Council's Code of Conduct for Councillors? Councillor O'Rourke.
On non-pecuniary interest under A on the agenda, and it's as a director of the Eco Hub, the Rugby Eco Hub.
Thank you. Are there any others? Councillor Sanderson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, St Andrew's Church, by virtue of it being in my ward, and as a trustee of Rugby Eco Hub, who are mentioned in the budget papers. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Please, Councillor Willis.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Declare an interest as Chair of Woolston Parish Council, which is, of course, included in the papers. Thank you.
Thank you. Any others?
I forgot to say St Andrews as well.
Thanks, Councillor O'Rourke. We got that one. Okay, can we move on to pecuniary interests now, please? So, pecuniary interests is defined by the Council's Code of Conduct for Councillors. Any Councillor Edwards, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I need to declare a pecuniary interest under item 6.3 of the report, as my employer is mentioned in that report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. It's one of the words that I will not be sorry to lose when I stop being Mayor, is pecuniary. Do we have any others? Okay, thank you very much. Notice under Section 106 Local Government Finance Act 1992, non-payment of community charge or council tax. Okay, thank you. We can move on. So the next item says Mayor's announcements. I only have two, very briefly. Usual set of engagements during the month, which they've all been outstanding events and community events. There's two things I want to say. Welcome back to Councillor Hassel. I hope you've recovered. And you were so brave last time. So it's a special welcome to you. I want to mention Councillor Gillias as well, who has just undergone, I believe, a heart operation, and we send him all our very, very best from Council. And the last thing I want to say is, if you can't turn up to the Mayor's quiz next Monday, which is at the Bell in Hill Morton, then we will take donations instead. If you've got, you know, we're very open-handed like that. So just have a word with Kevin and he can sort that out. Thank you. So we're moving on now to questions pursuant to Standing Order 10. Do we have any questions, Chief Executive?
Madam Mayor, there are no questions.
Thank you. So now we move on to receive the report of Cabinet dated the 9th of February 2026. In submitting the report of Cabinet, if members wish to raise questions or to comment, will you please indicate, as you normally do, that you wish to do so when I call the item. Councillor Mystery, will you move the confirmation and adoption of item 1 of the report?
I move so, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Do I have a seconder?
Mayor, I will second it.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor O'Rourke. Councillor Mystery, would you like to introduce the report?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Just quickly, it's part 2 of the Cabinet report, which sets out that General Fund revenue vehement totaling 343k be approved, and is as set out in section 5 of the report. I move so.
Thank you. Do we have any speakers on this? Councillor Mystery, do you want to reply to yourself? Or, okay, so we'll move on to the next one. Thank you. So, sorry, I've lost my... Just bear with me, just 1 second. Right, so it's going from there. No speakers. Okay, so Councillor Mystery, will you move the confirmation and adoption of item 2 of the report, titled Housing Revenue Account Budget Monitoring, as at 31st of December?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I move so.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for that one?
I'll second that. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Mystery, would you like to speak?
Just quickly, similar to the General Fund one, this HRA account, we've got a capital vehement of 250,000 to be approved because it's customary, so I move so.
Thank you, Councillor. Do we have any speakers on this one? Please, Councillor Mackenzie.
I won't speak for very long, but I want to say thank you to the housing team for the work that they've done. I think the massive improvement in repairs on the housing, the improvement in the housing stock is something to be absolutely commended, and I want to say that publicly here in Chamber.
Thank you, Councillor. Yes, certainly. If there are no other speakers, I'm moving for adoption of those those items. So all those in favour, please show. Thank you. All those against? And any abstentions? The motion is carried. Thank you. The next item is the report concerning the Council tax base 26-27, draft General Fund Revenue and Capital Budget 26-27, and Medium-Term Financial Plan 26-27. The 2 supplementary reports, which have been circulated to all members, will be considered along with this item. Members are reminded that the requirement to the Council's constitution that no councillor may speak for more than 5 minutes does not apply when Council considers the annual budget. However, I would ask all councillors to keep their contributions to the point and not to repeat the comments of previous speakers, however good they are. If I consider that any speech is too long, too repetitive, I'll ask the councillor to close their speech. Please note, in accordance with usual practice, a recorded vote will be taken on the amendment and the substantive motion. Members will therefore be asked individually to indicate how they're voting on both proposals, and names will be recorded in the minutes. Councillor Moran, will you move the confirmation and adoption of item 1 of the report?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'd be happy to.
Thank you, Councillor. Do I have a seconder?
Madam Mayor, I second the motion and reserve my right to speak. Thank you.
Councillor Moran, will you speak to introduce the report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd be delighted to. It almost feels first, as I was reading through the protocol with regards to timings and stuff, I can't have been the only one to smile a bit when considering that without Councillor Gillias, such a protocol on limiting time might not be necessary. But whilst light-hearted, I want to use this opportunity to say, from a personal basis, wishing Councillor Tony Gillias all the very best. Look, I'm genuinely honoured here to be presenting this budget because I think it's something that I can really be proud to stand behind and because it delivers on the Council's mission for a better, a greener and a fairer rugby. I also want to place on record thanks to the Chief Financial Officer and his team, Councillor Mystery, Councillor Lewis, Councillor Roodhouse and everyone within the administration that I know have worked so hard in such a short time frame with many moving goalposts to deliver a budget and a plan that is so good on many levels and I'm proud now to shout about. It would also be remiss of me not to make some comment to highlight the parallels between the process here, the smooth professionalism in Rugby Town Hall compared to some playground antics and all-round chaos at Shire Hall to demonstrate, if proof were ever needed, that under no circumstances any coalition with Reform and the Conservatives can never be a good thing. So, on to the headline. We're delivering a balanced budget, with council tax rising at 2.9%. So that's less than inflation, and again, significantly less, of course, than county council are investing in the county. And we're doing this across the whole fabric of the borough. To put it into words, to put words into numbers, I think at this point is always really important. That increase does translate to £6.69 for a Band D household. However, with 65% of households in Bands A to C, the significant majority of households in Rugby will experience a rise of less than £6 in their council tax, again, which is less than inflation. From also, as we'll get on both at this budget meeting and then in developing different policies, it's really important to highlight some of the additional levers and provisions that we've included to cater for those less fortunate and more vulnerable households across the borough, across many, many different descriptions. So being able to increase that maximum level of support for certain households from 85% to 100%, and still within that balanced budget that delivers on a number of areas, I think is really important to say. And we've done this clearly without impacting discreetly at the sides on fees and charges that I know has sometimes been the case in the past, where with the budget documents, as we know, of however many pages, sometimes there's an increase in something on line 84 that could almost appear innocuous. But it could be that actually it impacts different households in certain ways that it becomes significant. So if in dealing with cemeteries and that sort of thing, I know in the past that has been an issue. So I'm very proud to say that all increases have been kept in line or below inflation. And of course, green bins to charges. So that's a really important statement to be able to say in this context that we're continuing to deliver on that promise of a greener rugby. And I'm sure colleagues will discuss that greater at length. But I guess talking to, if you want, the meat of the budget, we are looking to, again, focus on that regeneration of the town centre. And so by moving 5 million from the business rates equalisation reserve to the town centre reserve, that balance now stands at 7.3 million. So having discussed in previous meetings on plans and aspirations to put into practice regeneration, we now have the money to deliver on those promises. In addition, there's £1 million in revenue budget to support the programme. And so as individual schemes are finalised through that working group programme, we can deliver knowing that the budget is in place. And as has been said at length, that council's focus is delivering, if you want, the magnitude of change in the town centre that is so needed. And they do centre around two of our key assets that are in a state now that we would all agree could be significantly improved, so Rugby Central and Brotherhood House. And those are programmes that we can take forward now, both with a policy framework but also with a financial support. It's also important to reference at this point the pending demise of Rugby First as a bid. And as we said at the time, we take the responsibility for the town centre very, very seriously. So within this budget, there is provision for a soft landing so that no business in Rugby Town Centre is effectively exposed to a cliff edge of Rugby First being discontinued. So that extends obviously to CCTV, to street cleaning, it extends to our events programmes and to wardens. No one will be under any illusions that the disentanglement and the move from a Rugby First in position after 20 years or so to no Rugby First isn't straightforward. So again, it's important to take this opportunity to thank all officers, particularly the Deputy Chief Executive, who I know is putting everything into making sure that transition is as seamless as possible. It would be remiss to mention, or not to mention events, but not mention our Love Rugby Festival. So within here, there's a great opportunity for Love Rugby to come forward in a second year, building on those successes and achievements of the first year. And so I welcome that investment. Also, as if by magic, noting a small element of the Conservative amendment, there is already provision in the Love Rugby budget this year to extend, to include commitment to cultures and music and the arts on a small scale, so that we can invest in those cultural crafts that make rugby the place that we know and love. In planning, I guess, how this budget can play out, it's really important to take stock of how the council functions and how it operates, and so we can focus on delivery. So I'm delighted to confirm that obviously the corporate restructuring that we spoke about is now well underway, and those dozen-plus direct reports to the CEO, getting it into a much clearer directorate structure, allows any budget, any programme to be executed more efficiently. So it's important to recognise and really recommend, I really commend all those officers involved, because I know these issues are never straightforward. So again, thank you very much. Again, it would also be terrible to mention anything at the moment without mentioning local government reorganisation. So I'm delighted to see that we've now got an LGR Programme Management Office in our budget. But I guess back to our core things, what we stand for. We believe we can make a difference to a healthier rugby and a better place to live. So it's great that they've got a programme of interventions that seek to increase participation in wellbeing activities. So recognising the role a council can play in conjunction with other authorities and other entities such as the NHS. So the programme here focuses on prevention, because that's a key role that we can play at a local level. So understanding the key performance indicators with public health for the borough, alongside the principles for population health set out by the King's Fund, those two new posts of a health and wellbeing manager to oversee all internal projects relating to health and wellbeing, and most critically understanding the links to partners such as the NHS Rugby Place Partnership and the Health and Wellbeing Board. I'm also delighted to see that we've now a budget in place for a health and physical activity officer, focused again on intervention, but particularly areas where we have multiple deprivation in the borough. They can work with local voluntary and community sector to increase the range of activities and participation. They can have a direct delivery role with councillors, with parish councils and the community. Recognising the incredibly valuable role that communities can play in delivering these objectives. I'm so proud to be able to confirm that we're investing major sums into a new healthy lifestyle fund, so that both established traditional sports clubs can increase their participation levels, but also a community-led focus in non-traditional areas, so that there are village halls, there are community centres where funding can be had for activities of all manner of description, some weird and some wonderful. That's great. If it gets people out and active, it can help their mental health as well as their physical health. So to see something in place here, it really is something that is something to be proud of. We've also got to make rugby a better place to live. And so understanding what we mean by how a borough can be a greener borough, I'll just go through some of the highlights, but the green space protection enhancements. So we're delivering on green spaces to increase protection from antisocial behaviour, poor parking and unauthorised incursions. Park connectors, building on existing plans to connect up our existing green spaces and ensure that we've got greater accessibility for cycling and for walking. Going organic, commissioning Garden Organic to deliver enhancements to planters, raised beds and alleyways in our urban areas. It's not just the villages of the borough that are proud of their green spaces. Climate engagement, so we can really have a specific project to look at events that I know Councillor Livesey, I'm sure, is going to talk about, such as the World Cafe, talking about our adaptation and talking about food resilience through that climate change working group. It's also important to understand at some point all of these kind of ideas and initiatives need to become sustainable. So by investing in the green economy, a 2-year fixed term for an economic development officer who is tasked with kind of cultivating that economic strategy, aiming to make some of these ideas sustainable and to give those longevity in the context of LGR, focusing on improving accessibility across the borough. It should be a point that it is long overdue that we have a sense where we're looking at feasibility studies, looking at toilets and changing rooms. And I know, again, some colleagues will want to speak more at length, but it shouldn't be almost like a wheel of fortune as to whether or not somebody, a resident, a neighbour, a family member can access a certain green space or a certain town centre facility. So the more that we can put into increasing accessibility can only be good. And I know those kind of changing places, kind of ideas and projects across both the town hall and looking at the art gallery, these are things that can make a difference at such an important level. It's perhaps not, there may be some councillors who have an even greater interest in allotments than others who are not able to be here tonight. But I do know allotments may mean a huge amount to a number of councillors, as I said, but also to the wider residents of the borough. So announcing a series of allotment grants to those allotment associations to distribute. That's a way that we can effectively translate the funds and the resources the council has into a way that can make a difference to people who can get out and about. Again, it's a great way of life. Recognising the importance, I guess, or maybe should I say the intrusion and frustration that many communities feel when they identify planning rules that are not being followed. So the risk of having a lawless community. So by announcing investment today in a fixed term post for planning and enforcement digitalisation, that then has a remit to focus more AI and online opportunities, that these items can be logged and better then monitored and better utilised, so that we can hopefully increase our ability to enforce the planning laws that we need to govern us. And I'm not almost last but least, but look, recognising as I've got on from a new councillor that the importance and the value of councillors' own experiences and local knowledge. I understand in many years gone by it was a dim and distant idea. So it's with a great sense of a pride to bring back an idea of a councillor grant, so that at a meaningful level, councillors can have an ability to invest in their communities that they represent, but beneath a spectre of too much bureaucracy. And so we can follow existing schemes to allow councillors to proverbially put their money where their mouth is and to help their local community. So I hope that's something that can be welcomed by all. Last but not least, the voluntary and community sector. As we move through, we've discussed at length from being a borough council to a unitary council. there's always this concern about those that are left behind. And we've already seen it, and I promise this is my last political dig of the night, but through all those years of Tory austerity, where public services were stripped to the bone, we have come to rely on the community and the voluntary sector in a way that it was never envisaged how they were originally set up. So, by announcing investment today into Carver, into understanding how their service level agreement can be better utilised, that can only be a good thing. Investment into the Rugby Disability Forum can only be something that can work in tandem with some of the other areas that we're looking to do through the Borough Council into the town and to the villages. And then within all that, I'm very conscious that a number of both colleagues, and I'm sure both on all sides of the chamber, sometimes express frustration that it's a bit of a minefield how to access, how to put residents in connection or in touch with the right grant facilitator. And so by having effectively a budget put in place for a fixed term appointment for an officer to help that process of accessing grants, hopefully that's something that then leverages many times that investment by making it easier for those third parties that do exist to invest money into rugby. To such an example of an institution that I think is so commendable for the work that they do, I'm sure many colleagues are familiar with the Percival Guildhouse in terms of promoting and facilitating adult education. Again, there's almost like a missed section of society that we can try and help. So very proud to see an investment into there. We've also going to touch on investment with building on the service level agreement with Brandcab to help existing initiatives. And I know also there is other ideas in terms of community centre investment and development. So bringing that together, the only kind of remaining elements to focus on, to highlight for me, are investment into the Rugby Eco Hub, something, again, that I'm proud to see flourishing over the last 18 months. And again, it's really important that we put such an institution on its way to its own sustainability, because, there could be a situation in years to come where, everything needs to fight for itself in a broad unitary environment. So the more that we can help prepare such an entity is for the better. And also, I want to mention the Hoskins Centre. So those that are not familiar, but it's a charity set up for isolated and vulnerable older adults and people. They're doing great work. It's an opportunity to invest and to help them progress, again, onto that road towards sustainability. So, look, in conclusion, I'll be really quiet. I think this is hands down the best budget this town hall has ever seen. Incredibly proud to be leading it today. I said thank you to all officers and to colleagues, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Moran. I'm calling for speakers now.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm just trying to clarify, at this stage, do I mention about our proposals? Do I? I'm just trying to work out the order. Yeah, so do you want me to
move it now?
Yes, so I move our amendment, Madam Mayor, as printed.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder?
Yes, Madam Mayor, and I reserve my right to speak.
Thank you. Councillor Simpson-Bint. Thank you. I'd like to remind everyone that it's a single debate. Okay, thank you. So I'm calling for speakers now, please. Do you want to speak now, Councillor Wood? You can do.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I have prepared a bit, and actually, I know Councillor Moran, you mentioned about a couple of political points. I'm actually not going to really be political tonight, because you will notice in our proposals, we actually haven't suggested taking any of your proposals out. Now, there were some things in there, I won't mention what, but there were some things that we were actually thinking about as well. So we've had to tweak ours. So just to mention about ours, so we've mentioned about free parking for 2 hours in the town centre, in line with what